Okay, today the topic is going to be Fukushima and Takata airbags. How are they similar to each other? And Fukushima was a nuclear power plant built around a pressure reactor uh, combination. That pressure was supposed to hold in a minor nuclear explosion or prevent meltdown into the substrate below the facility. When it comes to Takata's airbags, they had an inflator, which was nothing but a pressurized system similar to what you saw on a nuclear reactor, except it's made out of, I think, steel instead of concrete and steel. And likewise, it's designed to explode out in a deliberate control reaction. When it comes to the Fukushima power plant, what happened was that the diesel generator, which is something like the third backup they had on each reactor, got flooded, and they couldn't reactivate it before the reactors went critical, causing a meltdown. Let's look at Takata's airbag. Once that airbag is activated in a controlled explosion, it releases this chemical called nitrates. Excuse me, that causes the airbag to expand violently. But this is normal. Okay. Let's look at a nuclear reactor. Again, Fukushima. In its case, the water cooling system broke down, causing a hydrogen explosion from all that gas and stuff, water-based gas, building up. Eventually, the pipes started bursting and blew up the buildings. Even though the actual nuclear reaction was held within the reactor and immediately below the reactor for what went melted through. Once the airbags again, they have a system similar to that to release pressure into the airbag, causing it to inflate. Now let's go back to the Fukushima again. The further down below, if it does melt all the way through the containment dome, if it did, then the further down it melts, the substrata, whatever type of soil that was there, that's what I call substrata. This substrata, meaning any soil below the reactor dome, where the reactor may have gone into, the deeper down it goes, the more likely it will shed density. This is very important. It needs to shed density to reduce the number of uncontrolled chain reactions. Okay? Let's look at Takata's airbag. They were also designed with this premise in mind, that they would have one controlled release of the nitrite base inflator, which would cause the facility to in this case, the airbag to inflate. Okay, let's go back to the nuclear reactor again. Both of these are pressure valves. That's the reason I'm using both of them here. Both are pressure-based systems to contain something else. In the case of a nuclear reactor, it's a nuclear containment dome. It's the reactor from melting down. And when it comes to the Takata airbag, it was containing a rapidly high pressurized, and when released, rapidly expanding, all but an explosion. In both cases, they were designed to do that. In the case of the reactors, the Fukushima reactors, if you take strontium-90, it takes about 30 years or so to half-life. which is a long time. If you look at Cesium-134, which is another radioactive contaminant that comes out, when you get this 134 going on, the Cesium-134, it's about 2-year half-life, which means we've already went through 5 half-lives of Cesium-134 since.
Hello, please leave a message after the tone.
And these these isotopes that are being released by the explosion, the initial explosive release of the Cesium-134 from the nuclear reactors at Fukushima is in decline.
Who was that?
I don't know, Mom.
Didn't you answer the phone?
No, I didn't. The point is, when it comes to nuclear reactors, Cesium-134 is a 2-year half-life. That means it's half-life 5 times since as far as the initial amount goes. So you figure that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 years. That goes half, quarter, 8, 32nd, no, 8, 16, and 32nd. That means that the initial available amount of Cesium-134 that was created when they first melted down, only 1 in every 32 are still Cesium-134. The rest of them are decayed into other stuff. And when you get into a nuclear reactor like the Fukushima, that does melt through the containment dome, the production of these things like Cesium-134, 137 Cesium, or strontium-90, or even the faster decaying I-131, which only takes hours to decay a half-life, all of them go down in the amount being produced. The more dense the initial amount from the core is, the more it'll produce. If the density starts to drop, the number of chain reactions will go down significantly. As they go down, and as it melts through the containment dome into the substrate below, if it went that far, it will slowly react with the substratum and the containment dome. This reduces the amount of radiation being produced. Let's go back to takata airbags. I want to give you a kind of an example. I guess you can probably tell by right now. I've got a slight crack in my skull there. So I don't know all about the little containment domes, like my whole head here getting cracked. You can see what it done to my nose. It knocked out a tooth and herniated a disc in the back of my neck. But, well, what would that make a difference for? What it makes a difference for is this. If you have ever worked in carpentry, particularly putting up sheetrock, they use a technique where they use a blade to cut down the line where they want to cut it, but they don't cut it all the way through. They only cut it about a millimeter thick. Then they take their 2 hands like this and break it like that. Now, let's look at these kind of airbags now. What are we seeing here? We're seeing it come apart. It took me a while to figure all this out, but I was kind of sitting around and it came to me. When it comes to things like the Takata airbag, what we're seeing in all likelihood is somebody scored the inflator to where it would blow up rather than to release its internal pressure. That means when it was activated and from the impact of the vehicles and stuff, that little score that they put on it to cause a breach of the pressure dome that holds in the nitrites caused it to blow out. The question is, why couldn't you trace it back to a particular repair dealer or anything like that? And why was it? Apparently, all of them came from the same lot number, but they couldn't find anything wrong with the ones that they got that they could confirm. That leaves you with the question: could somebody have bought maybe 30 or 40 of these things, scored them like you would sheetrock before you put it up on the wall, snuck into your car, replaced your inflator, got out of there, and you never know the difference until it could be months later before you have a car accident. Could be the next day. But if that inflator went off, you're toast. Just like with a reactor. Had it not been designed the way it was designed, it would have blew up. Not just a hydrogen explosion where the water blew up, simply got too hot and just simply ripped it apart. The what do you call that? Tubing, plumbing, whatever you want to call it. The plumbing that allows it to circle around and into the reactor, right? Pick up heat and then get rid of the heat in the condenser and come back around again. Well, that thing lost pressure. So much pressure was on it, it just blew it up. Which caused a meltdown, all of this stuff. When it comes to takata airbag, it doesn't matter if it's takata airbags. Any airbag in the world made by anybody could be scored. If scored, it's like any other thing. If you design something to take 500 psi, and somebody says, "Well, hey, if I do this, this, and this, I can reduce it to where it'll only hold 250 psi." Now, who in the world came? I mean, that's probably what happened. But if you think that it couldn't happen, just look at my face. You got a crack here from all I did was fall out of my second bunk while I was second tier bunk in the Army Reserve in the Army AIT, and I cracked my skull. I did this to my nose. If you look at my face really closely, look at this side versus this side. You see how it looks here? See, not straight across either one. That's all they'd have to do. Think about that. If they could just get a piece of it to break off and go in the direction they want it to go into, who's to stop them? The only way you're going to stop is make sure you don't give out your keys or your code numbers or anything for your cars and stuff like that. Because it doesn't matter what kind of inflator you're using. It really does not. Because it's a pressure containment dome. If it's compromised, and then something happens to you, like you have a wreck or something, all of a sudden, guess what? You've got this high pressure, all of a sudden hits a shock. Plus it releases. Instead of all the released stuff going to, let's say this is the thing, it breaks, it goes up through here, and out. But if it's scored, say here, and it kind of like over like that, kind of like my face is, it's going to go way like this. It's not going to do the same thing. Depending on how they put that score in there, they can go almost anywhere. It also explains why not everybody who got involved in one of the type of accidents wasn't hurt, or some were only hurt and not killed. It could be just a bad, just a mere luck that the person didn't put it on right. So that's basically what takata airbag's done. Somebody figured out how to compromise it. Now, whoever it was that done that done a pretty good job of it. For one thing, you can't even guarantee me, anyway, that the inflator in the car that the person just got injured or killed in because of it even belonged in that car. I don't mean because it was faulty or something. I mean because it didn't belong there. It wasn't bought with that car. Someone went in and said, like, ping, and then put that one in, ping. You're like, you get up the next morning, you have no idea anybody's been in your car or anything. Have a wreck that afternoon, next thing you know, you're dead or injured by something you did not even know was in your car. Any pressurized system can be done that way. Hydraulics of any kind can be. So whether you're talking about a nuclear reactor or you're talking about a takata airbag, if there's any damage to the facility in any way, shape, or form that is not caused by the actual accident itself, can cause a different outcome than people like Takata, who designed it, planned on it to do, or in this case, the nuclear power reactor builder in Japan. What can I say? And then let's get back to the strontium-90. Been 60 years since the U.S. Army and Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps quit surface testing nuclear bombs. That's 3 half-lives ago. That means half-life is where the amount of radiation being emitted reduces by half. Anyway, this is caused by chain reaction that would generally, if it's in natural format, it isn't that bad. Because when they get into the enriched format, which is a lot worse. That's what they make bombs out of and stuff like that. I don't know how to do that, but that's what they do. I just know they enrich it. They got all kinds of fancy things they have to use to do that with. And all the radiation they have to deal with and everything. But that being said, let's look at what happened. 2 half-lives ago, excuse me. Yeah, that's 2 half-lives ago, not 3. That means that a fourth of the radiation produced as strontium-90 from nuclear explosions on a quadrille, what do they call it thing? Cohesion or something like that. Atoll. A fourth of it is still there. And that was just, it's just still there. You get some things like cesium-134, which is the best indicator as to the spread or not spread of a nuclear reactor fallout. When it comes to cesium-134, it has a 2-year half-life. That means after 2 years, only half of it's left. It all decayed into something else and released radiation. Well, it's been five half-lives ago. That's half, quarter, 8, 30, 16th, and 32nd. So that means you had 1 in every 32 of them left now. But that's only from the initial amount being released. Unlike a nuclear bomb, if you look at my skull and you think, okay, I'll look at nuclear bomb, look what non-impact did. But What about over time? What if something continuously outputted, like a reactor does? Explosives don't do that. Explosives is just bam, it's done with. You get into a reactor, whether it be an ICE reactor, which is an internal combustion engine, if you don't know what it stands for, they're nothing but a controlled explosive. Or explosion, excuse me. And this chain reaction, the gasoline burns or diesel burns in your engine, is indeed that, a chain reaction. You mix air with fuel and causes it to burn. Similar to a reactor. You add stuff to it and you moderate it based on how much you push up or down the rods versus, say, in a car pressing the gas speed if it's working right. Or in the case of a takata airbag, having an accident and the thing not exploding correctly. When I say not exploding correctly, it's supposed to inflate the airbag. But if it's compromised and it busts the containment dome of the nitrite inflator, then the nitrite inflator canister that's held in, that's what they call those canisters. That inflator / canister, if it breaks apart because of this scoring of the canister, then guess what? You're in shitload of trouble. Man, that thing can kill when it does that. But that's not the way it was designed. Nuclear reactors were designed with a canister or containment dome, as they call it there, to prevent that. That pretty much covers all of it, I think. So basically, in chemical radioactivity, one of the things you got to watch out for is the ringing effect. And you think, well, what's a ringing effect? That's where you take a cloud bank storm coming up on your mountain, to the mountains 20 miles over from you. It takes Seattle, Washington. And you look at them mountains, I forget the name of them off the top of my head. They got some mountains up there that's part of the greater Rocky Mountain chain. Just off the shoreline, maybe a few 10, 15, 20 miles or something like that. And what happens is the air goes up. The air goes up like this. And when it does, the moisture is going out of it by the mountain itself. There's a change in altitude and temperatures, resulting in a discharge of usually rain or snow. Well, Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, the United States of America, are the two most likely cities to get the brunt of anything coming from Fukushima. One is that the radiation is wrung out along with the water when it comes down as rain. Then it hits the water system, say your river, streams, springs, branches, creeks, and all those flow down towards Seattle, and eventually go out Seattle. And Portland's got its own tributary system as well, which means a lot of your radiation is going to be rolling out by the mountains as part of the rainfall. Eventually, if sufficient amount did, it could be problematic. You got to remember, Fukushima is a continuing problem. It may not be melting down anymore, but it's still reacting. Like I was saying earlier in this video, if it melted through the containment dome base and then get into the substrata, that's not necessarily bad on the longer term. The reason I say that is because it won't react as much. If it doesn't react as much, guess what? It doesn't release as much radiation. Remember, there's something called a critical mass. That's the necessary amount of uranium-235 or plutonium, whichever one you're using, has to be present at a particular density and temperature to have an uncontrolled chain reaction or any chain reaction. So when it comes to chain reactions, you have to look at that. These chain reactions are interesting in that as the core melts through the bottom, it loses both heat and mass. Once it gets the substrate, it just keeps on trucking. More than likely, I don't think the substrate is enough to keep it from going through. It may go down several thousand yards before it actually gets enough reactions with the substrata and the its density starts to go down. And as that occurs, reactions get fewer and farther between. You may have started out with a ton of reactants. By the time it quits melting down and finally starts to cool down, you may have a few 100 pounds, if you even have that much, in one spot. The rest of it's going to be scattered all up and down where it melted through. So, and it's like the China syndrome. It was a movie back in the 70s when I was a kid. They're like, well, if it melts down to the earth, it'll blow the earth apart. Problem is, the earth can take trillions of tons worth of TNT and say regular life is. You know, trillions of tons? Yeah. It takes 1 million tons of TNT equivalent to knock a city the size of New York out. And then you only have maybe a half a mile wide and maybe 500 feet deep hole. 1 trillion is 1 million times that. Well, I covered a couple of topics here that are kind of related, and they both are responsible for the same thing happening. When you look at the kind of airbags, you look at right here in my skull, if I ever get hit again, depending on which side of my head, if I got hit again, it probably would be catastrophic. So just think about it. Somebody got into your car, changed out your inflator with a modified inflator that was deliberately scored like this, intentionally. And then, when that thing hits something, instead of just releasing the pressure like you would through your nose when you're sneezing, instead of doing that, it literally just causes your whole, in my case, it would cause my brain to collapse. And that's a major problem. So if you think I'm wrong, it's up to you. But every time something like that hits, see, I'm to the point now where I'm even afraid to go to fairs, to go to the state fair and ride the rides. Why? Because of the fact I have injuries that compromise my ability to take and sit in some of those rides. And likewise, all it takes, if somebody knows what they're doing and knows how to do it right, all they have to do is score that thing. If they know how to score it, it doesn't matter which kind of inflator you're using. Any pressurized inflator is enough. Period. Any. Takata doesn't matter. They may have been the first ones that noticed it. There's another thing. When it comes to Al Qaeda, they were using explosives that were made from fertilizer, which have a very similar formula. Not the same, but similar. They're very close to each other. I showed the Army back, oh Lord, I think it was like 91 or 92. I was in the reserves in the combat engineer unit. I showed them guys how to blow one of them things up. Boy, these are pretty good stuff. Hole in the ground if you know what you're doing. It's actually a cratering charge. It's better as a cratering charge than an IED, but I kind of got smart and started using it as a IED. And they'd dig a hole in the ground or next to the pavement or something, put this explosive in there, then when you drove by, blow it up. Smart asses. Again, that's the second, actually it's the first one. Sky airbags, I hadn't got there yet. That's one or two items that was created to aid the human race that turned out to be a weaponizable thing. What's in the Army calls dual purpose. Another one, of course, is the Takata airbags. And then, of course, you've heard of dynamite, which is where, what's that guy's name? I draw a complete blank on it for some reason. That, what do they call that when you get that award? Can't even think of it. Well, I better shut down here. It's been 32 minutes. You guys have a good one out here.